Hello everyone, this is Sodhi from CAAN Wings Consultants Private Limited. Welcome to yet another YouTube session. In this session, I'm going to primarily be doing what we call walk the talk. So in the previous videos, we've been talking a lot about processing the applications to priority or fast track so that applicants are well in time to avail the nomination opportunities that are going to be available for them for all the offshore applicants from the month of October, mid-October onwards. So I'm quickly going to share some of the applications we have routed through the fast track processing and discuss three major occupations which I think you need to have more clarity on, because I have got a lot of emails from people who've already applied for these occupations and ended up getting a negative skills assessment. So with the recent approvals we have for these applicants for these specific occupations, I'll also have an opportunity to discuss with you as to what these occupations are all about. So now on your screen you can see the first occupation that I'm talking about, that is marketing specialist. Now what happens is when we prepare an application for priority processing, and I'm now specifically talking about the VETASSES here, the VETASSES is not going to take you on face value, and whatever documentation you send them, they're not just going to go ahead and accept the application for priority processing. They have to be first satisfied that the documents that you are sending, the application in a way is decision ready, and they've got all the necessary documentation that they possibly could need in order to arrive at a decision. Once they're satisfied that your documentation is complete in every respect, they will send a confirmation that your application or request for priority processing has been approved. Now please understand that this confirmation does not mean that the application has been approved. It simply means that the request to prioritize the application has been approved. Now just to quickly go over what priority processing is all about. The standard processing time with the VETASSES for any application is about 10 to 12 weeks. And the fee associated with it is 880 Australian dollars. That is for offshore applicants who are not paying the GST. Now, if you move in for priority processing, you pay additional $600 in addition to the $880 that you're paying, and you end up getting a decision within 10 days from the date the application, the request for the priority processing has been approved. So I'm going to discuss three cases with you that will help you understand it further. So the first case I'm going to discuss, we just had an approval for this applicant. In fact, we had 3 approvals for our applicants yesterday, that is on the 16th of September. And we had routed all these 3 applications through priority processing simply because we expect these occupations to become available for nomination in mid-October, and we did not think it was wise to let the application linger on in the process for about 3 months. So the first application is that of a marketing specialist. For confidentiality purposes, we've not declared the name of the applicant. We respect the applicant's right to reserve his identity. Now, as you can see, there are 3 dates mentioned here. The first one is the submission date, the second is the lodgement date, and the third one is the decision date. So the submission date is the date on which we lodge the application with the VETASSES, and the lodgement date is the date on which the VETASSES approves your request for a priority processing. So that is the day the application is formally taken up for assessment, and the decision date is the date on which the skills assessment outcome is given out. So as you can see in this case for the marketing specialist, we submitted this application on the 14th of September. In about 24 hours, I would say, the decision to route the application or the decision to accept this application under priority processing was taken, and on 15th the application had a lodged status, which means that the request for a priority processing was accepted, and on 16th of September, a positive outcome was issued for the applicant. So although the VETASSESS is bound to complete the application decision in 10 days, in this particular case, practically speaking, it happened in about 24 hours because the date of lodgement was 15th and the date of decision was 16th. So look at the kind of time the applicant ended up saving. And now I just want to tell you, marketing specialist is a little tricky occupation. Now, especially in India, we do not have a clearly demarcated marketing department in most of the companies. Yes, a lot of corporates may have it, but many companies do not. So a lot of times the occupation or the designation for the applicants is intertwined with sales and marketing. So one of the areas the VETASSESS will particularly focus on is whether the applicant's core responsibilities or focus is it more sales oriented or is it more marketing oriented? Because though we may be using the term sales and marketing interchangeably, marketing and sales are entirely two different occupations within the Australian context. And so when we take up an application for the occupation of a marketing specialist, we as consultants first need to be convinced that the applicant meets the Australian Immigration Department's concept of a marketing specialist, and his role is not sales oriented and merely achievement of sales targets. So we come down to the next one, that is facilities manager. So we had submitted this application for applicant on 3rd of September. Now here you can see there's a gap in between. It took them probably 2 days to look into the documentation, and on 7th of September we got an email from them advising us that the application has been approved for priority processing. And if you can see, there's quite a bit of gap between the date on which they started working on the application and the date on which the outcome letter was issued. So there's a difference of almost 9 days. Nevertheless, they did complete the processing within the 10 days, which is the commitment that they have for priority processing. Now, the interesting thing here is that facilities manager is a very tricky occupation. A lot of people do not understand who exactly a facilities manager is. So broadly speaking, a facilities manager can be somebody who's looking after the physical management of space within any kind of building. It can be a hospital, it can be an office, it can be a resort, it can be any kind of building. So it doesn't really matter what kind of organization it is, as long as the person is responsible for the renovation, for the upkeep and the management of the physical space. So since like I said, it's a little tricky occupation, the VETASSESS has to be absolutely sure that the person applying is actually involved in the core responsibilities associated with this occupation. An interview was conducted with the applicant through a telephonic call, which is why we see a little bit of gap. So after the interview was conducted with the applicant and having been satisfied, the positive skills assessment was issued to this applicant on the 16th of September. So now we come down to the third occupation, which again was approved on 16th of September. And this occupation is called a vocational education teacher. Now, if you ever look up the ANSCO list, interestingly, there are two occupations with the same ANSCO code. One is vocational education teacher trades, and the other is vocational education teacher non-trades. And now somebody who's teaching subjects which are related to trades is assessed by a body called the TRA, and those who are teaching subjects related to non-trades is assessed by the VETASSESS. Now, the interesting thing about this applicant was that he was working in a college and his designation was that of a lecturer. So ideally, a person would think teaching in a college with the designation that says lecturer. So obviously this person is a lecturer. However, no, that was not so. Since the applicant was teaching diploma and postgraduate diplomas, he did not fit in with the requirements of a lecturer, but that of a vocational education teacher. So we do not really go by the designation. Just because your title says that you are a lecturer does not mean you fit into the occupation of a university lecturer. A lot of times we have applicants who are 10 plus 2, teaching 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2 classes, and they're holding the designation that says lecturer. So they do not fit in either as vocational teachers or as university lecturers. They'll probably go with the an academic teacher. So with this particular case, again, the application was submitted on 11th of September. The documentation was reviewed, and on 15th of September, we got a go-ahead from the VETASSES stating that the application has been approved for priority processing, and on 16th, within 24 hours, a positive skills assessment was received for this applicant. So these were a few examples of how it really works. With this, my purpose of this video is basically to encourage you to utilize the priority processing services of the VETASSES and fast track your applications in case you're ready with everything else that is needed for submitting your expression of interest, and in case you know that your occupation is likely to be listed for nomination and you do not want to miss on the opportunities for nomination by going into a long drawn out process. So that's it for now. Please do continue to send us your emails on CaanWings@gmail.com. We'll be happy to respond to your emails. One request I do have to make here is, please email us your case-specific queries on CaanWings@gmail.com. A lot of times we have our technical team responding to the queries on the YouTube comment section. And if you're looking at a more qualified response to your query, please email your questions to us. And you can also call us on 78498 78498, and we'll be happy to look at your CVs and give you an advice on the possibility of your eligibility for skill migration to Australia. So calling you all into action, I'd like to end this video here. Goodbye and take care.